Okay.
Okay.
Here we are. We were just chatting offline about how we first kind of met, which was like, you know, early days for me, very, very, very early days for me in vertical crypto art. Not so early days for you, Giselle, because you've been around for a long time. But you know, it's nice to like, you know, do this after what it feels like decades, but it's just not even a year.
Yeah. Decades of projects and initiatives and talks and learning and showing what NFTs can be, right? It's like, wow,
Yeah.
what an amazing world that it's turning to and shifting, and there's so many waves of excitement, and everybody's like, what's happening next? You know, it's like, so there's so many different avenues happening with, you know, with the women of crypto art. And, you know, I also started Off On Gallery this year, and bringing to light just certain important individuals in photography, bringing photography a new scene that's just starting. There's, you know, I've always wondered about the scene of photography and wondered how it's gonna meld in here. But everything we do has stemmed from photography. All of our visual language has stemmed from photography. So there's, you know, it's eminent that it's going to be an important part here.
Yeah, and you know, I'd love to like, you know, you are really one of the like original, let's say, like curators and artists of the space. You know, you've built Woca, like Women of Crypto Art, and you know, you've kind of been, yeah, like, I mean, you gave me advice at the very, very beginning, which was like so precious and so golden. So I'd love to really, you know, hear from you, mostly like, you know, usually like it's like, how do you get into this? But actually I'd love to hear what are your thoughts on, you know, the evolution like of this space. Like, what are you seeing, and what are the things that, you know, you excite you? What are the things that maybe don't excite you as much? Like, just, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this.
The most important thing I keep thinking or coming back to is the potentials that are being created, the different communities that are being strengthened, and the different avenues people are kind of working towards developing that, like in very, you know, community-based yet decentralized. You know, there's so much new language going on with this world that we are being introduced to, you know, new concepts, new ideas for, you know, even our social interactions and our you know, global initiatives. So there's an insane range that's not just artworks on an NFT. It's like there's huge shifts going on, and crypto art is just one of those small things, but changing the lives of artists into being, you know, holders of our future is a huge thing. To be bringing value back to creators is like that's the now. That's the huge, you know, the next few centuries of change that's going to happen from this moment. So I keep thinking, you know, big picture whenever I feel down on something, or, you know, certain scenes going on, like collectibles and avatars, and there's so many, you know, interactions of different worlds going on, and, you know, stock people, and, you know, just different market investors coming from all different worlds trying to understand what this art scene is about. But this art scene is kind of just a grassroots you know, growth that's been happening with these visual thinkers that have been, you know, questioning what we are creating, you know, from the beginning, and from the beginnings of computers and digital expansion going on. There's just like everybody's seeing things from different angles and trying to develop their own way and their own visions. So there's, as the world grows, you know, our social interactions have all been growing, and we've all found, you know, different ways to communicate now in these different apps and things. And we're all just going to be making, you know, more connected communities. It seems like it's just like a growth of networks that are happening right now, and like very like fiery like types of growth that you see can burn down really quickly if they don't have a plan, or you know, or
Yeah,
people,
for
or
sure.
come from, you know, manipulative standpoints, and those are sad for the whole collective, you know. So there's a lot of good, a lot of bad, but the potential is really what keeps me so excited, of what's happening.
Yeah, I think, you know, you mentioned it really well. It's like there's a bit of everything at the moment, you know, like everybody's really, because it's so new and so exciting for everyone, then everyone is trying to almost like, you know, build something that maybe they've wanted to do on their own for a long time and never had like the medium to do it. And now there's this medium where like everybody can build. And so everybody's like,
Yeah.
wow, this is like, you know, this is my chance.
And
Um,
holding your weight with voting and DAOs, and it's just a new structure that we haven't seen before, where it really feels like we can have control over what we're making.
yeah. And I guess, you know, I'd love to go back to maybe like kind of like the founding grounds, like how maybe like, you know, even like Woca came about, like how, you know, from there to now, like what are the things that, yeah, like what are the things that kind of have kept, you know, that is important to keep thinking about, which maybe, you know, kind of get forgotten. Like for example, you know, we talk about royalties a lot, which is something so important for artists that, you know, a lot of people have fought for, like initially, like a couple of years ago. Like, what are the things that, you know, you think are important to keep in mind, that are, you know, the ground kind of that basically built the ecosystem the way it is now?
There's a lot to that question. A lot of our future still resides on these, on the technological advancements, which have to do a lot with platforms and ways that we are, you know, like OpenSea right now is, you know, that marketplace, but it's like I'm waiting also for the developers to catch up. You know, I'm waiting for
Yeah.
like a little bit of a few aspects that are very important, you know, I think for the long term of the provenance of the blockchains. You know, we have so many new blockchains in the scene, which is wonderful. I think there's a lot of interesting things that will happen with all of them. You know, there will be transitions as we grow, and it will feel like a small pond again. It'll feel like a big pond again. We'll probably have waves of either one with each blockchain. So I do think having on-chain, you know, on-chain connections with our assets is hugely important, that I think gets overseen by many platforms that are coming these days. And, you know, keeping the, I think as we go on, the hugest issue that I feel like we're headed towards is the management of all these assets, and how we show them on these platforms. Like only only one or two or three platforms are letting you, you know, work with collections. And as stuff is growing, you know, our collections are growing, and it's becoming very scattered. I think that we can have a lot more focus with our platforms and with what we want to show, and interactions between all of them. That's something I would love to see. Having museums being established like MOCA are really wonderful, because it's not a, you know, it's not the, they're not there to make the money. They're not into sell. Like there's finally people that are having museums and making a real testament to the digital arts and where this is headed, and showing the validity on it. You know, there's all the museums are trying to catch up quickly and trying to understand what's happening here.
Yeah. And what do you see? You know, you've been doing art for a long time, you know, pre-blockchain, pre-crypto art, pre-NFTs. Like, what is, you know, like it feels like it's as you mentioned, like it's a catching up, right? And I guess like maybe in that process of catching up, you know, a lot of like areas kind of get missed, or because it's like almost rushed at times, like there's things that, you know, get overseen, overlooked, or not really kind of like focus on, like from an art kind of like background and perspective, like what is that scene, um even, you know, like thinking and doing within the space that you're, you know, you've come to, let's say, you know, look at, or you want to comment on maybe.
I feel like it's actually becoming more of an artistic process. You know, the whole part of the journey of learning
Mm.
and trying and taking risks onto what blockchain and what, there's so many choices now that whatever choose, you know, it gets forgotten. There's moments that will be token on a new thing, thinking it's going to be the hot thing, and it might not be, you know. But all of art is messy. Art is just a messy process. You know, you're cutting, you're breaking, you're reconfiguring things. You're trying to see things through another eye. And I think the process, at least the process that I've been headed towards with my work, and you know, everything that I've started from the beginning has been just jumping into it no matter what. It's like I want to learn. It's like I'm here to learn. So whatever I get into, it's like it might not be the best thing. It might not be the perfect thing. It won't be, because none of us are going to do the perfect thing. So it's like whatever works. And it's been going well for me. So I think it's a great process and I really like it. I really enjoy it because I have very little stress on which ones I'm going to be choosing, because I work with people that feel right. I work with the
Yeah.
situations. I am drawn to situations that feel right. I like follow my heart on these things. And if there's somebody that rubs me the wrong way, I move the other way. It's just like I continue to find the aspects that serve me and work towards those things. And that's, I think a lot of people lose sight because there's so many different avenues right now to choose. And having focus is very difficult. So the Women of Crypto Art is a wonderful thing for me, because not only it's a place to just shoot ideas when there's, you know, something specific towards that type of communication that I feel. It could be anything from like even just like music. I just want to talk about music, you know. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it can be anything that our creatives want to communicate with. And that's why, I mean, this is past just art. It's a communication. It's these communities that are growing of thinkers of around the world, and all of a sudden we can communicate with everybody around the world in these really focused ways, because everybody who has grown with computers will be, you know, easier to understand how to incorporate these things into their art. So there's like a like-mindedness, I think, because we're all a little bit digital oriented. And as you know, the generations go on, that's going to be more and more so. So it's like kind of, I feel like it's a huge part of my whole artistic journey is having that analog to digital transition and helping others through that. It's kind of something I've done my whole life. So helping people through this digital transition
yeah.
is like an ongoing theme through my life.
And actually, you know, I was just looking through, you know, some of your works like the other days, and yeah, like obviously, you know, there's like a lot of recently there's a lot of talk of like photography, you know, and how like it's almost like an untapped kind of like scene within the space. Like there's been a lot of, you know, talk about like pure digital art or generative art or 3D painting, you know, a lot of things. But it feels like photography is almost like an untapped let's say space, whilst like actually if you like look into it, like a lot of art comes from photography, you know. Like I've spoke to quite a few artists that actually their process like starts with the camera and then simply gets translated into digital. So but it's not, you know, it's not like genre like kind of categorized as photography, but actually that's where the process starts. um
Yes. It's like It is our visual language. The discovery of the camera has made all of this communication possible. Otherwise, we would just be listening, we would just be listening and typing and writing. So visual is a new language that clearly we love to do, because look at like TikTok and all the things, it's like we're just like quick videos just to show humanity to each other right away. And like it's like almost we're dying for the realness. Like we are, our generation, our whole, society is like, we are almost in opposite of what has been given to us for the past, 20 years of commercials bombing our brains for for so long, and the industries telling us what to look like. And it's finally these generations speaking for themselves and not having all this middlemen in between. That's really fun. So photography is a huge part of that. It's like we wouldn't have these visual moments without even the moment of capture. So that to me is a huge part of my art, is that those seconds of exposure, can even be minutes, of course. And that's one thing with photography. I think the reason we have such a problem categorizing photography is because there's many aspects of photography. There's many categories within photography. So you think of photography, you probably think right away of like a landscape or a portrait. And there are so many aspects within that. And for me, I love pushing the abstract. My brain just loves finding these crunchy details of discovery that are like very digital oriented, yet based in the real, in the physical nature. So it's like I've always been like the non-photography photographer. Still life for me was exploding things and a lot of movement. So that was my still life. So it's like I like to challenge these things a lot. So with what I create, I just go by these discoveries that I keep trying to find. And these discoveries are all based on manual control of your camera. And that's the one thing, is like, we are all photographers now. We can all be a photographer by pressing that button on our phone. But there are so many aspects that we can really analyze in there, and we haven't analyzed it as a society yet, as a culture yet. I think we need, now that we have this digital access to the cameras, I think there's so much more exploration that can be had by having these manual controls, or like by even focusing our intentions with these manual controls. You can find so many beautiful things we haven't found.
Yeah, I'd love to, if you want. Like I have your super rare profile up, and I'd love to kind of like show some of your work, because I think there's like you like if some, I mean, from my perspective, I just speak to myself. Like if somebody like looks at your work, I would have never said, unless, I went and like, knew like how you work, that it comes from photography, right?
Yeah.
So I'd love to maybe, like talk a little bit about like how you go from like analog to digital, and what is it that, like sparks to kind of create something like this, like from a photograph to transition into these artworks.
Yeah. Actually, as I go, everything I've created, from super rare especially, is of the moment, is what I'm tackling at that moment. I have not looked for old work. I have not looked for, I find relevancy to be very important. And it's almost like the stuff on super rare is almost a collection of very personal works in a way. And it's because it's almost like a time frame of when I was entering that space. So like right now, the ones you were showing in the beginning were the sparks. When I came into super rare and I got accepted to super rare, I was like, wow, they accepted me even though I'm a photographer, which is like, so, not that digital, even though it is created digitally. That whole, the whole idea of what the term photographer is for me has always been trouble for me. I've never liked to be associated, really, because I never really connect with those who call themselves photographers. For some reason, I speak really clearly to artists. And if an artist is a photographer, then I can speak to them in those conceptual ways, like I can get it and they can get me. But with these sparks, this was so fun because it was for Super Rare and they did not even have video capability at the time. And I was making these videos about bringing a spark to, I wanted to spark new life as a photographer, new life as a creator. And I found this new way, and I was like, I'm going to come in with a bang. And I went to my roof and I got these mirrors and I started with some pyrotechnics and I ended up with this triptych. And I'm like, not only is it a video and not only does it look like it was, edited in post with After Effects, this is a true, scatter pattern. Like it's like a real scatter dynamic, which is something that a lot of, digital 3D people really love to recreate nature. And I love to capture nature. So it's like you can study my works and learn the trajectories that way or something. I love to study them. That's why I'm making them. I love just spacing out and looking at the way the particles move. Something about the particles of nature, the way humans walk, the species on the planet, we all have this flow about us. If you see it from, the space level down to, it's just like we are all those little sparks. We are those little sparks. And so having that as my like Genesis work is really fun. Because it wasn't even supposed to be video, and so then I was like, okay, I'm going to keep, working towards this, like capturing the random nature of our existence is something I love. But as I go, I have been transitioning more, learning more After Effects, learning all these other tools, and seeing how it could work with what I'm pushing, and those bubbles, man, I was really into aquascaping. Like I was really into fish. Like I was living in the New York City apartment and I had no access to nature, and my nature was in a fish tank. So I would like be with this water and lights all the time, and that's exactly what these are from. These are from my fish tank. With my crazy camera, learning about what LED light is all about, because seeing it in slow motion, you see these things moving and you wouldn't know they change color that way. So I love discovery, and that's something that's going to be cornerstone of all my work.
That's insane. Like I had no idea that these are literally things that you photographed and that you processed in this way.
Oh, and the bottom, actually, the one, if you go a little, see how it almost is like rainbow. Yeah, like the rainbow waves on there. I think that's also a rolling shutter as well. A rolling shutter, which is usually seen as a mistake in a video and a cinematic camera, on a digital cinematic camera. If you do not sync up the speed of the exposure with what you're doing, it will have this effect. But I love that effect. Why not? It's like bring out the fun in these things. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, and I guess it also kind of fits the idea of like the ecosystem as a whole. It's like really, you can experiment with whatever you want. Like there's no kind of set determined rules of what you can or cannot do. Like it's up to you, right? Like if this is what I want to do, then I'll do it.
That's the way I've started from day one. If I'm not working for a client, I'm working for myself.
Yeah.
It's like if I don't have to do, I've always worked for clients in a way that I am satisfied. So like, I usually would be able to create in a way that's still interesting to me. So that's what gave me my strength with still life photography. But, now that I have this freedom with it, it's like I'm all out exploring every aspect of this world and learning about all the different scenes and collectibles and tradings, because I love all of that stuff too.
Yeah, of course. This is actually, I think, the piece that is in the MOCA Genesis collection.
That is such a special piece for me. I mean, so that is actually a video from 2018 that I did with my daughter. And she made this song that is like, it just speaks to my heart. And every time I would be sad or something, she would sing this song. And it's like, how, anyway, so that song is what Munyi Munyi is about. That's why that it has that title. And at the time that I tokenized this, there was no sound allowed yet in the platform. So I couldn't link the sound with this piece, but I thought it was so important that I really wanted to put it there. So
did
I don't
you
know
then link up the sound, or did it always kind of like stay like this?
Not yet. I feel like there's definitely potential for either I feel like I would want it to be an immersive installation if I add to it, or if I, at least use the concept to have an experience. Because I would love to be like in that glow, I want to be that glow. So, and with the song, it just makes me cry right away. I mean, it's powerful. I love it. But it's,
That's
it's my
amazing.
kid. Maybe that's why. I think it's universal. It really is. It's a someday that'll be something big. So I'm happy that the museum has it. I think that's perfect. It's such a perfect thing.
That's amazing. And I guess like I know, looking through a lot of your work, like it stems from like various different things. And and I guess a lot of the time, like I'm just scrolling through now, feel free to stop me whenever, but like I mean, I think this piece is amazing. I love this.
I just submitted that for an installation in a show somewhere, so that'll be
it's
coming
insane.
soon.
Where does this come from? Tell me more, please.
So definitely inspired by the scene with this one. I was curious. I was like, I wonder what if I do this to my art, like I wonder if I do this technique going on, that I see happening, a few different ways now, of this, like kind of within going into the frame. It's when I took these light wave pictures, I was immersed in this light. Like I am moving, I am like dancing as I'm capturing these things. That's in amazing. A way, like a really fast motion is to make these things. So people seeing me are like, what in the world, what is she doing? But it's Times Square, so who cares? It's like you could be totally crazy and nobody cares. So it's perfect. So
have you ever had somebody take like a video or pictures of you whilst you're like doing these, like whilst you're taking these photographs or these videos, like, and almost have
no, yeah, I go on my own. I'm like totally by myself. No, not yet. Someday maybe.
That would be so cool. Yeah.
I would love, I'm very excited to one day document a different city too and see how that connects. See how New York City is going to be an ongoing light work for me. But trying other cities as well, I can't wait for it to welcome that experience of like other big cities like Osaka, Japan, or there's probably so many beautiful big cities around that have different light and different time.
Exactly. And it's so interesting that these, it's almost like a travel, like a travel journey. Like I don't know, like you're documenting like where you're at with different like ways of creating it. Like this is lights in Times Square. Like the previous one was bubbles. Like there's like so many different like aspects to one single place. And it almost
with elements to this one, you can even see some of it looks like some signage of the hot dog carts. I think you can see in here if you really like coming up there on the right.
Oh yeah,
there's some rainbow letters there from a hot dog cart.
This is insane.
But yeah, exactly that. It's like a time and place, and that's what I write on a lot of them. It's a blueprint in time. This is a blueprint of light and of what it was in that moment, and as I'm moving it through the space. I played roller derby too, so that's a lot of the movement and action going on. That was my need for speed for a while. I was literally playing it and jamming so that I would just go as fast as I can. I don't, there's something about time and even the physical challenge of challenging your body either with marathons or, you know, anything like that. I've done ultra marathons. I've like talked the talk and walked the walk, you know, and traveled and had a lot going on. So it's home birthed. I mean, I've done like a lot of crazy things that help me have a vision now as to what I want to say and how I say it to people, you know, and how they can connect with me. And there's kind of all aspects of life that I like to delve into with this stuff.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like there's so for someone who like you like has been, you know, in the space for a long time, like sometimes like I get a lot, get like questions, and I'm sure you get too. It's like, you know, from especially from like new artists, you know, kind of like what should I do for my work to sell, or, you know, I should follow this or I should follow that. And yeah, I guess like, you know, I'm not gonna like, I think like most people know what I think, but like, you know, it's like I'd love to ask you, like, you know, you said you help a lot of people like transition from analog to digital. I'm sure with Woka as well, like you know, there's a lot of new women who have kind of come into the collective, and you've, you know, onboarded within this group. And I'd love uh to hear your thoughts on, you know, when an artist says like, what should I do? Like, what do you say?
Well, with Loca, we've tried to establish a few different resources for artists that are coming in. We have a website that has different links into ways to navigate a bit the space. I definitely, we're working towards growing that website. I think there's so many aspects that could be really helpful for people. One of them being is you need patience. People need patience in this space. It's like the one thing people don't have, and I know that because we're all pretty, you know, fast with this digital world. And but it seems like for selling, you just have to build who you are and build what you want to say, and make sure people see what you want to say. And that's something, you know, even now, as far as my own art, I think there's some people definitely listening and paying attention and can understand it. But there's, you know, tons of people that will overlook it because it's not the traditional things. And the funny thing is that that's the whole point. Like, you want to stand out. You got to stand out. You have to have something to say. If you're just like, what subject do I do now? It's like, God, I would hope that the artist is the one choosing the subjects, because, you know, that's the whole point that we're here. so so to me, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like every person's journey is their own, and if you're new to the space, try to learn as much as you can and follow the ones you respect. There's a lot of people with different motives and initiatives and things, and I've just connected with the ones that I feel like are headed in a similar route towards mine. You know, I very much focused on the fine arts and seeing how that's going to transition to the galleries and gallery spaces. Because my husband and I, we were doing art salons in our studio in Williamsburg before, you know, before all of this. We had physical events where people were all coming together and showing their art and having performances. So it's like there's so much needed of that, which is showing who you are to others. And it's not just a one-time thing. It's just like a ongoing, this is being in this space and trying to be successful in this space is, if you don't see yourself for like a long time being here, it might not work out very much. Like, I don't know. I feel like I finally found my place. Like, I feel so comfortable here, so much more than any other aspect that I've been, you know, working towards in my life. So I feel very much like this makes sense for me, and I'm just going by every step as I go, what feels right.
Yeah.
So whoever's, you know, looking in this space, it's like, find what you want out of it and see how that would happen, you know, or what you want to give to everybody else. You know, it's everybody's here wanting to sell their stuff, but it's like, what are you giving, or why would I the artwork I buy, it's all emotional. It's all like connections with people that I really feel like I want to keep a piece of their history. I want their history in my wallet in a way. I want to be a support to these people. And almost by looking at my wallet, you can see who I support or you can see who I resonate with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that 100%. And I think, like even thinking about like what, the Museum of Crypto Art has done, I feel like that is pretty much, their kind of like conception as well of, having building almost like a history, like a timeline of, artwork and artists that have can be there forever and are there to stay and can build almost like a history of crypto art and what that means and continue to do so through the years and through the time with a long-term vision.
Yeah, and having, being able to split these things, like split the royalties and split the commissions and have, have donations to other parts that need, other parts of the globe that need it. What a revolution this is. It's just like really amazing that it happens without, just at a snap of a contract.
Yes.
There's so much potential going on. We just don't even know yet.
Yes. And I know you've founded Off On Gallery. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes, that is a project of, Henry Hornstein is the first artist that I'm representing there. He is, I'm actually very excited that photography is coming into the scene because he's been my mentor my whole life, and I wanted to give back and I wanted to have his art in the blockchain because I think it's epic to where photography has gone. He is like a lifelong creator, and I wanted to have a place to honor that. And as the creator of Off On Gallery, I'm still working on finding out, how this is all going to play out, or like how, because I know historically his work is incredible. It's like incredible work, and seeing the space and to how it is welcomed as far as a culture, understanding the legends that came before. That's still, it's still very fresh. It's still not really understood yet. I think it's like almost I'm establishing this now for the future, because it's like the time is now for all of these things. I feel like I am like trying to do the things that seem best in this time and space.
I love that. And I think when I talked to Sparrow, I think it was like a couple of months ago, she said, which is something that is resonating now that you're speaking. She said, I see the blockchain when she kind of got into it. She was like, I see it as almost like a timestamp, like a way to like almost, like a vault for me to just, say like I was there, like this happened. And it is like that, like it essentially like to see it in this way is so organic. It kind of like it kind of makes sense, like take, stripping out, like obviously there's a lot of important things like provenance, royalties, monetization, like for sure these are like really, really important aspects, but also like a timeline for yourself. If you think about it, like it's going to stay.
Mm-hmm.
It's there, so it's not going to go anywhere.
And it's that
And that
historical
almost,
aspect, right?
yeah.
Sorry, it's that historical
Yeah, no,
aspect
yeah.
that I find, to be really important. It's especially for photography, as I said, having it as our cornerstone of our communication standards. It's to have the creators that came before, and especially if they're still alive, to have them, in this scene, and even that they're open to wanting to be part of it is really interesting to me, because he's also been a teacher his whole life. So it's, at the Rhode Island School of Design, it's like this person has just led their whole life of mentoring and teaching the aspects of photography that have been forgotten. And that is the huge thing, that the parts of photography that are being whittled away with AI and automatic exposures, and to the point where the camera, you don't even have to point it anymore. It's like we are capturing every aspect of our lives in all different ways, but we forget that we can choose how it's exposed.
That's so true. And I mean, that's something that I think you're experimenting in all sides and angles, which is amazing.
So yeah, it's been an interesting process. And as we go, I don't know, I keep going and keep seeing what I can show, or where I can discover new parts of myself to show too, because it's, it's all about, like, it's an interesting place to be, because it's now a point where you're sharing all the time. It's like as a creator here, you're kind of, I love sharing all my stuff all the time, because I'm like always work in progress. Like, I have so many fun screenshots to share all the time that I love doing it. So being entertainment for others, or, inspiration for others, is wonderful.
Absolutely. And I guess one last thought, or like question, like what is something that, like looking back, but also like looking forward, like what is something that you're excited about, or looking forward to in the developments, like something that you think, this is coming and it makes me like excited?
As I get more comfortable in these VR worlds, I find it, pretty comfortable to be chatting with people in these virtual spaces. So I am looking forward to feeling more comfortable to be able to speak about art in these virtual worlds.
Yeah.
Like almost like an art salon that is virtual. But there's so many, it's going to be a comfort barrier for a lot of people. But seeing that transition will be interesting. Right now, everybody has avatars and like fun things, and that's going to continue. It's our personal expression again, just like MySpace profiles or something.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. They took it away from us for so many years, and now we're finding new ways to bring it, to make it fun.
For sure. And yeah, I actually I think so as well. Like initially the VR aspect was something that I was like almost kind of like scared about. It was like, I mean, like this is not at all like where I'm comfortable, but the more I explore it and like try it, and like the more it's like it's almost, yeah, it feels good. So this is also something that I'm really excited about, to see how that develops, and like how more mechanisms are enabled for people to hang out in VR and to do all of these like virtual events. Yeah,
I'm really, yes, and I'm looking forward to the barrier going down on some of these worlds for showing works. I know that some places, if you want to see a high quality, you have to have the original GIFs.
Yeah.
Being a curator, it's a bit a nightmare. So if we want to facilitate these kinds of shows, the worlds could really help in making it less back-end techie and just a little more fluid for interactions. When I graduated RISD, I also was working with Brown University in interface design, like virtual reality interface design, around 2003 or 4. So it was like very early on, interface logic. And to me, now I'm seeing these apps being developed, and I'm always feedbacking to people that are developing their stuff. It's like, because I want that I want my flow. I want to be able to not think of these technical things. So a lot of platforms do take my recommendations on things, and it's awesome, because then things are so nice when they work out. And knowing, I'm sure I'm not the only one requesting the things. So it's great if you have something to say to a platform, a way to make it better. Please reach out to them. There's ways to contact them, to let them know, because we need to develop this space a little faster in fluidity of the VR. I love to be able to be in VR and see my work, because my work is very detail oriented, and usually you can't appreciate it unless you have that zoom in tool and really see all those crunchy little details of my work. So seeing it in VR is awesome because you can make it huge and you don't have to print
Yeah.
it. You know, I love printing too, and I love physical prints, and even you know, the print in a press, and having that tactile nature. So I'm always, again, tactile nature, wanting to see it in VR. So I want to be that digital liaison. I am that digital liaison, and I want to help people transition
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. And I guess, we're in that prime, the beauty of being here whilst a lot of these things are being built is that you can really act as that like feedback point and say, this, I'd love to see this and I'd love to see that. And as you said, people are open to suggestions. Like, it's really building from the ground up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good point.
And if there's a platform that shows up and they just don't have what you want, I mean, there's so many others popping up. There's so many popping everywhere and wanting artists to, you know, show it for them.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
make sure they align with what you want, because there's a lot of them that have other motives that are not really artist forward. So I always, you know, I always try to promote the things that I think are helpful for
Amazing.
artists. I'm always trying to like generate, you know, value to my community that is listening, because there's not that many towers of reason in a way. Like a lot of your interviews are wonderful because people cannot see the realities that are going on with each artist, and how we are navigating this space.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think it's something that, and you're touching, I mean, I could not agree more with everything that you're saying. Like, you're touching some really good points. It's like, I think I had this conversation like a couple of days ago. It's like, just be true to what you are, like have, create like an organic people around you, like great friends. Like in the end of the day, like that's probably, if you're here for the long run, like it's better off being true to yourself and, doing what you want to do rather than like faking it, because it's just gonna,
Yeah.
it's not gonna help you or anybody else, really.
Yeah, and faking it, I mean, yeah, fake it till you make it. If you make it, great. But, you know, what are you going to say with it? Hopefully you have something to say at that point. You know, have something in your back pocket if that really works out. I don't know. but but like, as you have done, just like from the beginning, I was like, you know, you're so genuine. It's like really fun to meet genuine people in this space. And then seeing it develop, and that's another thing I love to like. First, I realize people entering the scene, and I watch. You know, you can watch and wait and see how they develop and see how they interact with others, and that's how you really know who your voices are, who you want to be paying attention to. And you sometimes you can pick up on things really quick, and you do make money that way too. And you can make money all different ways in this space.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be selling your art. So you don't have to sell out if you feel like you have to lower your prices or whatever, only if it's genuine and you really just want to either have more people buy it, have, you know, more people access your art. You know, there's a lot of different mentalities on creating art. It doesn't all have to be one-on-one. If you want to be really high priced blue chip, I guess, you know, it's you. So a lot of people like burning their stuff just for having low quantity, but I don't know. I've been meandering, having enough creativity in my works that are available, because I love having things available, because my work is so different. There's like some things that are really fun for some and not for others, and not everybody's gonna like them all. I definitely don't expect anybody to like them all, and that's
Absolutely.
not why I'm making it. I'm making it more to like have that point of reference in my collection. Like when I make an artwork, even if it's like seems like off or not, you know, it's not as beautiful as their other work or something. I don't know. It's like I've always thought beauty in art is kind of a weak point in a way, because beauty in art is something you can buy at the mall. It's like, you know, I don't there's so much more to art than just a beautiful thing, and it's really what you say with it, or what you're exploring in it, in a life aspect, because we are life artists, and it's like you create your whole life, all these shades and hues and colors and sparks. And
I mean, I'm listening, and yeah, I don't have much to say because I completely agree. I think everything you just said, like I couldn't agree more. And it's golden words, I think, for anybody who's listening, and for people who might be watching this in the future as well. You know, I think some of the things that you said, all of the things that you said, are so important to hear. You know, do it for you. Like it's not gonna. It doesn't have to please everyone. Like it won't please everyone. That's just the nature and the beauty of it. You know.
It's been the advice
Um,
I've always given, because it's the advice I'm taking for myself. It's like, if it doesn't work for me, then you guys will find out that it doesn't work. So don't do it. I don't
exactly.
know, whatever. It's like, I can only speak from experience. I can only help, you know, to coach or something with what I've learned. So, and wow, I mean, not only crypto art, it's like our lives are changing in every moment. It's like I've gone through huge transitions, as we all have during these pandemic and things. It's like our art is shifting, everything, our visions are shifting as a collective. We are all changing and now learning about this whole nother potential. It's like a million things exploding at once. So, you know, we don't know what the repercussions will bring, or hopefully good repercussions in that way.
And if you had to describe crypto art with one or two words, like what would you say?
It's just the extension of digital art. It's what's making digital art it doesn't bring validity to digital art, but what do I want to say? It's the extension of, it's the next level of, it's the next level. It's the new layer of digital art. Because it encompasses as an umbrella all digital art. So, and now it's digital art that has a tactile, tangible quality about it that we can collect. So it's just changed digital art in a way that now we can see it a little bit more in parallel to other art because of that nature. But it's a very sensitive answer, and I feel as though I just like scratched it, not even.
I love this. And I'm looking forward to having this conversation in another 6 months and, you know,
Yeah,
catching
let's
up
see what
on
happens
like
then.
yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I don't know.
But yeah, that's, you know, this is exciting. I feel like it's, yeah. If I just think, as I said before, like from, you know, 6 months to now, like everything has changed. So who knows what'll be in another 6 months.
Seeing our lives change, seeing, yeah, the space change. There's so many levels of changing. Oh my God. Yeah, it's wild to see. And I want to keep seeing all these virtual exhibitions. You know, what else? What else can we do? Can we portal to each other? Can we like, I can't wait to find out. It's like a surprise every day to see what's been developed. It's like a surprise every day. You find out new things every day of what's happening here.
Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you so much, Giselle. Like it was a massive, massive pleasure.
Thank you.
I loved it. Thanks a lot for the chat.
Thanks for letting me
Appreciate it.
share and talk and chat. It's so fun. Thank you all for listening.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.